Okay, everyone. Welcome to our webinar for RoboMQ this month. Today we will be doing a deep dive into Hire2Retire, our middleware software product that essentially automates the employee lifecycle. We're going to be showing you a brief overview of how Hire2Retire works, keeping in mind the typical goals, challenges, and needs of our current prospects and customers. While you're watching this, if you find this could be applicable to you, or you do have any questions, want to see a custom one specifically for your HR system and your identity management platform, feel free to reach out to us and we can set up that custom demo for you. But for now, for brief introductions as to who you're seeing on the screen right now, I'll go ahead and start. My name is Alexis. I am an account executive here, and I'll pass it over to David.
Yes, hi everyone. Dave Greenstein. I'm also account executive here at RoboMQ.
Hi everyone. My name is Cameron Brader. I'm also an account executive with RoboMQ.
And I'm Brahm Gupta, and I head products at RoboMQ. And to get it started, I'll just go over a couple of slides, and then I'll give it to Alexis to do the detailed demo. So let me share my screen, and we go. Can you guys see my screen? Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. So this webinar is about the Hire2Retire product, which is basically employee lifecycle management. And what it does is it synchronizes lifecycle changes, onboarding, offboarding, and employee transition in HR system to the identity systems, where it will create the identity, give the role-based or need-to-know basis privilege and access. So what we do is we basically act a bridge between the HR and IT. And if you think in terms of more detail, it does what typically a sysadmin or IT operation team does, because they are notified by HR that somebody has been hired, or somebody is being terminated, or somebody has been promoted. IT has to make certain changes to reflect their profile, reflect the org chart, reflect their access, reflect what they can do and what they cannot do. That part is fully automated with our product. So that's what I'm going to get into the details. Just as a short summary, we already had the introduction, get into the problem statement, get into what are the core capability, what is the problem that we solve. I mean, why should you look at this product? Literally, that is what I want to explain in the next couple of minutes, and then Alexis will do the detailed demo. Now, in terms of the problem that we solve, right, it's management of employee lifecycle. So when new hires happen, change of role happen, promotions happen, name changes happen, somebody gets married, divorce, goes on long-term leave, terminations, all of these changes start in the HR system. And then that activity triggers a set of activities into IT system, primarily from an identity and security perspective. And it is very important. In today's very threat-prone world, system security, IT security, identity first approach to privilege and access is very important, and that is what we do. We integrate with HR, but at the same time, most of the activities that we do, we help IT and security teams. And as we do it, the biggest benefit that comes, or the problem that we come, is we solve the poor first day at work experience. You walk into the first day at work, you're not set up, you're not visible on GAL, you don't have your laptop ready, you don't have access ready, you don't have your email ready. All of those doesn't happen. When you walk in, everything is set and ready to go. Your laptop has been shipped, it is provisioned for you. Your email is provisioned, you show up in GAL, everybody knows who do you report to, who is your peer, which system you should have access to, do your job on the day one without, wasting your day just trying to get things ready for it. We take care of it. Second thing is a direct cost saving or cost avoidance, because in absence of product like us, who does the job? It's typically sysadmins. And they are highly skilled resources, and this is not really a priority job because they have better things to do. It's a very manual, mundane job that can be fully automated. That's what the computers are for. And then we make sure that the security risks are avoided by making sure that there's a timely termination of the access and people have access which is in line with what they should have. Now, jumping to the business process point of view, as HR sees it, or generally a broad business process, we are basically automating JML, joiner, movers, and leavers. These processes start in HR system, as I've been talking about, but then the activities that have to happen once the joining happen, moving happen, or the leaver happens. And all of these activities that you see below in the checkbox, and we'll share the decks also, when you see in the checkbox, these are the ones which happen on the IT side or the system side. Role-based access, updating the GAL, making sure email communication happen, making sure privileges are removed upon termination, making sure the mailbox can convert to OneDrive, making sure to shared mailbox, making sure the OneDrive access goes to somebody. Also, we do integrate with service desk systems. So when somebody is hired, we can create a ticket, trigger the workflow, make sure all the assets and the resources are provisioned for that person. Similarly, when somebody leaves, those resources and access are revoked or taken back. We also support IT onboarding in interaction with ATS systems. That is a little more detailed. We may not go in this demo, but this is a core part of the integration because this is a common problem that employees start in the HR or payroll system just a day or two before the start date. And that's the problem because IT needs some time to prepare the laptop, some time to send the laptop, make sure everything is ready for the first day for person to join. And that problem we solve with integration with recruiting, with onboarding or ATS systems. And with such integration with HR system as well as the ATS or onboarding system, we are able to achieve these benefits. Superior first day at work, making sure the employee profiles are synced between HR and IT and identity systems. There's a role-based access control so that need-to-know privileges and access is given, as well as we do the resource provisioning through integration with around 10 or so service desks. Most of the major ones, ServiceNow, Jira, Freshservice, Zendesk, ConnectWise, SolarWinds, all of those are in there. We also provide security and compliance risk coverage. We have a compliance audit trail where we'll be able to track all the activity, meaning when the onboarding happens, offboarding happens, what happens in the identity profile, how the identity profile changes, how the privileges changes, how the access are changes. All of that is tracked, and it's a full chain data capture. And you can say that I have a platform to do employee identity lifecycle management. And then you can say, okay, this is the data, which is the evidence that we not only have the process, but we are following it. Our product is no code, self-service. Everything can be done on the UX single pane of glass for defining the workflow, for observing the workflow, for getting notified, taking care of identity, access, privilege, as well as observe capabilities. And we have an excellent customer success team. That's what we get a lot of kudos from. And if you check out our profile on G2, you will see people give very high rating on our quality of support. Our customer success really goes intimate with our customers because it's an identity product. Yes, it is a little involved, and we are there to support you in a full white glove, as well as you can do yourself, and we are with you, watching you, validating you, and so on. So we provide support as much needed, and support is also part of the subscription, so you don't have to pay extra for the support. We want to make sure that our customers are successful and we are able to solve their problems. So that's really the goal that we have with our product. And with that, just one last slide. This can be a little more detailed, but we fall under identity governance and administration space. We are not a full-blown IGA platform like Savient and SailPoint and Omada, but we are a niche, lightweight IGA product which focuses on employee identity lifecycle management, resource provisioning, role-based access control, observability, reporting, audit trail, BI, and so on. We also support seasonal or contractor workers because there's a gap in handling the identity lifecycle for those kind of workers in the company. So without further ado, I'll let Alexis show you guys the real thing. How it works. I just talked about the theory, but she'll show you how it works.
Thank you, Brahm. I'll go ahead then and share my screen. Everyone see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So what you're looking at right now is what you would see when you log into Hire2Retire. All of these gray boxes are workflows. You can have as many as you like. You can have as many accounts as you like, maybe one for testing, one for UAT, one for production. And this is also a way you can handle, as Ron was mentioning, contractual and seasonal workers. Maybe there's a slightly different onboarding and offboarding process for them. No problem. You can always go ahead, clone your current flow, make the alterations as needed, maybe title it seasonal workers, and now you have their worker and employee lifecycle automated as well. Now you'll see this is our demo workflow. We have quite a wide variety of HR systems that we natively integrate with, as well as ATS systems. For simplicity's sake, I'll go ahead to an ADP workflow. And let's go to an ADP workflow if you have a hybrid Active Directory setup. Notably, we do also support in terms of identity management platforms, not just hybrid Active Directory, but fully on the cloud, Entra ID, Okta, and Google Directory as well. Now, when you do click a workflow, first thing you'll see is the overview page. Essentially, all the steps you've made in the workflow will be spit out here in plain English, a basic summary. You can see which attributes you're choosing to send over to us from your HR system, how you're mapping that into Active Directory or your current identity management platform, the various steps you're choosing to take to automate at various lifecycle stages such as hiring, change of profile, leaving the company, etc. And one thing to point out is while we are a no-code self-service product, we're technically coding behind the scenes, so one thing you can always do is go ahead to version history and roll back to your last known good state. Now the Identity tab is where you make the bulk of those workflow decisions, and the first step is going to be pretty straightforward. Applications, go ahead and click your HR system. These are some of the ones we natively integrate with right now. If you don't see your current HR system here, let us know. We're always adding to this, as well as we do support other HR systems and applicant tracking systems as well. This is also where you select how you want to integrate to Hire2Retire from that HR system, as well as which identity management type you have, and we'll adjust accordingly. Now in the case of connections, this is where you set that up, your connection to your HR system and your identity management platform. And once you do have these connections set up, you'll be able to go ahead with the rest of the workflow. So first step here is going to be choosing which attributes from your HR system you want to send over to Hire2Retire. You have control over this. What you're looking at here are very common attributes that we see among our customers. Of course, first name, last name, preferred name, job title, department. If you want to select supervisor ID, we'll be able to keep your gal current. And basically the attributes that you choose here are the ones that you want synced to your Active Directory, or maybe ones that you want to use to organize your security groups, distribution lists, and so forth. If you do have employees in different time zones, you can also take advantage of this feature. Essentially, since we support scheduled events, this allows us to ensure that those scheduled events happen in each employee's respective time zone. Whether that's them joining the company and you want to automatically enable their account at a certain time, or they're leaving the company and at 6 p.m. in their time zone, you'd like to go ahead and disable the account, remove them from all their groups. All of this will now be done without any time zone confusion. Once you have chosen which attributes you want to send to us, the next step is going to be mapping them into your identity management platform. So all of those attributes you just selected will be available here. You can go ahead and drag and drop them to that corresponding attribute. One thing that we do need from you is going to be that employee ID attribute, and that's because for us, it acts as our unique identifier. So it'll help us know that John Smith in ADP is the same John Smith in Active Directory, helps us recognize if they're a rehire as well. And while you can just drag and drop as you need, one thing to point out is we do support data transformations modeled off of Excel. So you'll see all of these maybe familiar looking functions that you can take advantage of. And a common use case you might see for this is if they have a preferred name, use that. If not, use their legal first name and last name. In terms of UPN, there are a number of options that we support. Typical ones we see might be first name dot last name, first name initial last name. If you don't see your current standard among these options, no problem. We do have custom rule, and we can support that as well. We also do handle duplicates. We have a variety of options for this. A common situation we'll see is if there's two John Smiths, maybe you can just put their middle name initial, so John.M.Smith. Or if you use that numerical system, we can support that as well. In terms of domains, let's say you just have one, you can go ahead and put it here, and that's the domain Hire2Retire will use. If, for example, you have different domains, this is where I'll point out one feature here. You might have noticed this icon throughout the platform. What it is essentially a lookup table. So using any of the attributes that you have chosen to send to us from your HR system, you can always go ahead and determine different aspects of what determines which domain someone's going to get. So in this example, I'm using location. We do support and/or logic, so you can use multiple attributes to determine this. And you can put in your requirements here. You can do as many rules as you like. And once this is in place, Hire2Retire will now know to differentiate who gets what domain in this case. You'll see that this icon is available again throughout the platform, and that is essentially its purpose. Now, jumping over to Lifecycle business rules, this is where you can determine what steps you want to automate at these various lifecycle processes. So let's say someone's getting hired. We can go ahead and create their account in advance. We can also choose what type of password. You have some flexibility there. Require them to change it when they first sign in. Now, one aspect of Hire2Retire you can take advantage of if you are given notice in advance of an incoming new hire before their start date is this preboarding feature. So let's say you get advance notice and you don't need that much notice to just prepare their laptop or their desk space. You can have your day of choice selected here. And what that will do is Hire2Retire will wait until 5 days before that employee's start date. And once that 5-day hits, we'll go ahead, create their account in a disabled state. And you can also use this time to maybe send an email to IT informing them that, hey, first name, last name is starting on blank start date. Please get them a laptop. Please get them a desk space. Since it's in a disabled state at first, you can also choose when to enable it. In this case, if you want them to be enabled at 9 a.m. on their start date, that's the option we have here. Now, if you do get information about an incoming new hire, let's say less than 5 days before the start date, no problem. Hire2Retire will just go ahead and do these steps right away. So in terms of change of profile or role, let's say someone is changing departments, they're getting promoted, something is changing internally. This is where you choose how to handle your group memberships. So there are a few options here. Our most popular by far is retain all groups not defined in group mapping automation. Essentially, let's say you are changing departments from sales to marketing and Hire2Retire sees that. You have this option selected. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and get rid of that employee's sales access, give them the marketing access as determined by the rule sets you make on Hire2Retire. But if there was any access given outside of Hire2Retire, we leave it alone upon their change. So this essentially accounts for any individual access you might give to an employee for some one-off project and maybe it's not traditionally within their rules or their role set. Totally fine. Hire2Retire will adjust accordingly. If you did want to get rid of all those groups, though, or have a little bit of a stricter membership process, you do have that option as well. Now, in terms of termination, there are a number of steps we can automate here. You can put them in a terminated OU, purge any attributes upon termination, such as personal phone number, personal email, things you might not want anymore once they've left the company. We also do support both scheduled terminations and immediate termination. So scheduled, let's say someone turns in their 2-week notice. On their last day at 6 p.m., you want to go ahead with all those automated steps. If you have 6 p.m. selected here, we'll make sure to do that in their respective time zone. Now let's say it's immediate, and HR puts something such as involuntary into your HR system. As soon as we see this, regardless of whether they're on their payroll or their last day worked, we'll go ahead with all those termination steps. And that also includes how you want to handle group memberships, removing directly assigned Microsoft licenses. If you currently share OneDrive or turn mailboxes into shared mailboxes upon termination, those are options you can select here. If not, you can certainly uncheck it and we will go forth without. In the case that you find you do convert some user mailboxes to shared, but only some of them, we do have the conditional option. So let's say it's only for people whose job titles contain manager. You can have that set here. Hire2Retire will know that if that's the case, then we'll go ahead and create that shared mailbox.
And this option is available in most of the places because most of these things are policy driven. So you can always define a policy or a condition based on employee's attribute as to whether you want to do it. And that way you can have a preferential, special, or differentiated treatment for different type of employees.
And along those lines, if you do want to take advantage of that for shared mailbox, a few other checkboxes you can take advantage of are sharing it with the manager, removing aliases, if you do want to change display name or currently make a specific way as to how to do automatic replies, you do have these options here, attributes from your HR system or your Active Directory that you can use to really make this custom and dynamic for each email being sent out or the title of the mailbox. A few other options here we have are mail forwarding, and if you do delete accounts after a certain aging period, we can support that as well. Last step to point out here is long-term leave. If this is more case by case for you, no problem, you can go ahead, uncheck that box, and Hire2Retire won't manage it. If you do have a standard process such as disabling the user and putting them in a OU for leave specifically, we can support that as well. So jumping down to OU assignment, the way that we handle this is by concepts of priority and rule sets. Let's say a new hire is joining the company. What Hire2Retire will do is first go to the number 1 priority rule set and see if that employee matches with this current dynamic here. So if they are in sales and Toronto, we'll put them in this OU. If none of these apply, we'll go ahead to the second priority rule set and follow the same logic. We'll work our way down your rule sets, which do tend to be more generic the further down you go, until, if none of them apply, we'll go ahead and put them in a default OU. For group memberships, you'll notice that it looks pretty similar to OU assignment, but the difference is there's no concept of priority because you can be in multiple distribution lists, multiple security groups. We do have 2 attributes here, but note that we do still support and/or logic, and you can get quite complicated if that is your preference. The groups we do support are noted above here, so security groups, distribution lists, Microsoft 365 group, mail-enabled security group. All of these are ones you can manage directly on Hire2Retire. And let's say that someone's getting promoted from HR associate to HR manager. Once that change is made in your HR system and we see that, with this rule set up, we know that in this case, we'll keep their associate security group, but add the manager security group. Again, this is an automated process, and you do have default options for all of the groups we support. Now, because this can sometimes be a little time-consuming, especially if you're doing this manually, one way we can help with that is this little AI feature. If you do want to use it, what it'll do is read through your Active Directory, find any patterns, and offer them to you as suggestions. So for example, it might say, hey, we noticed that 89% of people with the job title product manager are being given access to this security group. Would you like to make that a rule on Hire2Retire? Essentially, it can act as a sort of crutch and help you expedite this process, as well as recognizing any outliers you might have right now, so you can also clean up your current process as well. Last step here is Communication Hub. Essentially, these are custom, data-rich email-based templates that you can automatically send out at any of these lifecycle stages. So let's say you want to welcome a new hire and send them a welcome to your first day at work email. This can be sent automatically at any of these lifecycles. It can also be conditional, so maybe you want a different sort of welcome email based off whether they're remote, in office, or maybe it's department specific, completely up to you. You can choose to notify the manager, as well as put whatever you would like in this email body. So if you want to add your company signature, we can do that. You can add images, attachments, links, and once again, you'll notice that all of these attributes from earlier are available to make this personalized for each person that's coming through. A few use cases that we see for Communication Hub can include emails such as this, or maybe you want to share the password with the manager, have employees acknowledge the company handbook. Maybe you'd like to use this Communication Hub in line with your service desk as well and send emails to IT about incoming new hires, resource provisioning, etc. People can get pretty creative here, but this is all available for your use. So I'll now go ahead and jump to the Service Desk tab. We do natively integrate with a number of help desks right now, and this is also something that we are currently adding to with our feature releases. So if you did, let's say, have Jira for example, and wanted to have that supported with Hire2Retire, you'll note that it looks pretty similar to Communication Hub with a little bit more field-level detail-based mapping. So in the case of Jira, we have projects, request types. This is all going to come straight from your ITSM, so there's not going to be any actual adding of these request types here. It'll be an automatic process once we've integrated with them. So we've mentioned role-based access control a little bit as well, and all of the third-party applications that you can see here are going to be ones that we natively integrate with on Hire2Retire. If any of these look familiar to you, they're ones you can immediately take advantage of. We are also adding to this list, again, with every feature release. If there's any specific one you're interested in as well and you want to make sure that we have it or see if it's on the roadmap, feel free to reach out to us. We are currently working on building our sim library and would love to hear what you currently use. If, let's say, your applications of interest aren't available here, we also do support all of the ones on Microsoft Marketplace. And if your current application, let's say, has a REST API, you want to set that up, that can be done. If none of these situations apply, let us know. We can put it on our product roadmap, and you'll see it here, let's say, in maybe 6 months or so. If you want this on priority, you can also let us know, and we can build you that custom connector for a one-time token fee of, let's say, $3,000. It is not covering everything, but it essentially helps us know what to prioritize as we build out our sim library. Now, the Observe page here is where you can see in detail everything that Hire2Retire has been doing. So you can see a general overview, as well as really get into depth for each employee themselves. By doing that, you can click this little icon, and you will see the attributes we're getting about them from your HR system, as well as what everything looks like for them in Active Directory. You can see both previous values and new values here. Let's see an update that might show that. If not, what you can also see is as a result of the changes being made, any security groups that they have been added, removed, or retained to, same with distribution lists, and if applicable, Microsoft 365 groups, and so on. If you wanted to be able to look at all that data without going straight to Hire2Retire, no problem, we do have the ability to schedule reports. So let's say every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7:30, you would prefer to get a report of all the changes Hire2Retire has been doing to email of your choice. That can be set up, and again, now that's an automatic process. Additionally, you can pipe all of this rich data into your BI or archival with this audit trail feature. We support AWS 3, MySQL, and Azure Blob. Additionally, for a lot of customers, maybe before Hire2Retire, this is a bit more of a manual process, and going straight to fully automated might feel like a big jump. If that's how you might be feeling as well, we do have this supervised mode option. And what that essentially does is gives IT a little bit more control during the process. If you have this option selected, you will also have this review tab where what you can do is go ahead and look at the changes that are happening and approve them before they happen, or not. So for example, when you're looking at this employee, you can see it looks pretty similar to the Observe page. The difference is that none of these changes have happened yet, and it's up to you if you would like to accept it. In this case, they're changing from marketing specialist to marketing manager, and you're also seeing which security groups would be added, removed, or retained if you want to accept this request. Once you do, that access will be changed, and if not, Hire2Retire won't make a change. Last thing here is this Reconcile tab. Essentially, this is a place where you can look at all the data we've been getting from your HR system, whether that's in API format or CSV files. You'll be able to see if any changes happened during that file drop or not. So it's basically a general overview that you can use to have full transparency into the data that we're getting, and you can view it for yourself as well. That's about it, I would say, for a little overview of Hire2Retire. Anything I'm missing here, Bram?
No, you covered it all.
Okay. So again, this was really squeezed into a tight timing just to make sure that we can get it in for you all. If you did want to see it a little more in depth, or you have specific use cases in mind that maybe we didn't address here, you want to see to make sure that the needs that you have can be addressed by Hire2Retire, feel free to reach out to us. We can do a custom demo for you with your HR system and your identity management platform. So really let us know. But other than that, thank you all so much for the time today. If you have any questions, thoughts, reach out to us. We'll be sending a recording of this webinar to all of our attendees here today. So you'll be able to reach out to us with questions, thoughts, concerns, all of that. And other than that, thank you all so much for the time you've spent with us here today, and have a wonderful rest of your weekend.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.